Found a severed human leg.
The discovery of a human body part.
Someone found a human body part.
This surveillance footage from April 1st, 2024 shows what looks like a perfect first date. A young couple laughing over dinner, sharing drinks, getting to know each other. But what you're actually watching is the last few hours of 19-year-old Sade Robinson's life. The man sitting across from her would murder and dismember her before the night was over. Sade Carlina Robinson was everything you'd want in a daughter. At just 19, this beautiful college student was full of life and dreams for the future. She was studying at Milwaukee Area Technical College, working at Pizza Shuttle, and like millions of young people today, she used dating apps to meet new people. She was careful about her safety and followed all the basic guidelines. She thought she was just going on a normal first date. She had no idea she was meeting her killer. Before we continue, I need to warn you that this story involves graphic descriptions of murder and dismemberment. The details are deeply disturbing. You are watching True and Twisted, and today we're investigating one of the most calculated murders in recent memory. A case that shows how a Netflix viewing history became the key evidence that exposed a killer's depravity. In March 2024, Sade matched with 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson on a dating app. Their conversation seemed completely normal. He was polite, intelligent, and showed no red flags. After weeks of chatting, he suggested they meet for dinner on April 1st, 2024. She was excited about the date. She picked out a nice outfit, did her hair and makeup, and looked forward to meeting him in person. She chose the Twisted Fisherman restaurant in Milwaukee. A smart choice, exactly what safety experts recommend for first dates. The surveillance footage from that night tells the story of what appeared to be a perfect evening. She arrived first, looking nervous but excited. When he arrived, she smiled and waved, clearly happy to see him. They were seated at a table where they talked and laughed over dinner. To anyone watching, they looked like a normal couple getting to know each other. She appeared relaxed and happy, animated and engaged in conversation. He was playing his part perfectly, attentive, charming, making her laugh at all the right moments. He was exactly what he needed to be to gain her trust. After spending an hour and a half at the restaurant, they left together and went to a downtown Milwaukee bar. More surveillance footage shows them continuing to have what looked like a wonderful time. She was still smiling, still engaged, completely unaware of the danger she was in. But this is where the evening took its deadly turn. After the bar, he convinced her to come back to his house on Milwaukee's South Side. We'll never know exactly what he said to persuade her, but somehow he lured her away from the safety of public spaces to his home. This decision would be the last one Sade Robinson would ever make. His house was in an ordinary residential neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing terrible was supposed to happen. But once she entered that house, she was completely at his mercy. The evidence suggests he drugged her once they arrived. Prosecutors would later present disturbing photos that he had taken of her on his couch, appearing unconscious with her clothing disheveled. These photos, time-stamped to April 1st, showed her in her most vulnerable state, completely helpless. But here's where this case takes a turn that would horrify investigators and reveal Maxwell Anderson's true depravity. When forensic experts analyzed his Netflix viewing history from that night, they made a discovery that chilled them to the bone. While Sade Robinson lay dead or dying in his house, he had calmly turned on Netflix and watched Love, Death and Robots, specifically Volume 2, all the way through to the final episode. That final episode contains graphic, detailed scenes of a human corpse being dismembered on a beach. Think about the calculated evil of this moment. He had just murdered a 19-year-old girl who had trusted him, and instead of calling for help, instead of feeling remorse, instead of panicking, he sat down and binge-watched content on how to dismember a human body. This wasn't research he had done beforehand. This was him, in real time, while her body was in his house, learning techniques for what he was about to do to her remains. The prosecution believes he used the Netflix show as a step-by-step guide for dismembering her at Warnemont Park Beach, mirroring exactly what he had watched on screen. This wasn't a crime of passion or an accident. This was calculated research followed by methodical execution, carried out by someone who treated murder and dismemberment like a hobby he was learning about. After his Netflix binge-watching, he systematically cut her body into pieces, planning to scatter her remains across multiple locations to prevent identification and complicate the investigation. His disposal plan was methodical and calculated. He would scatter her body parts across multiple locations along Lake Michigan, making it difficult for police to find all the evidence. On April 2, 2024, just one day after Sade's murder, a park visitor at Warnemont Park in Cudahy made a horrifying discovery. They found a severed human leg that had washed up on the shoreline. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Sade Robinson. But this was just the beginning of a nightmare that would unfold over months. On April 18th, another gruesome discovery was made when a passerby found a human torso and arm at a different Lake Michigan beach. Again, DNA confirmed these remains belonged to her. In May 2024, yet another discovery was made at Waukegan Municipal Beach, another arm belonging to Sade Robinson. Each discovery brought fresh horror to her family, who had to endure multiple confirmations that pieces of their daughter had been found. The psychological cruelty of this approach, ensuring that her family would have to endure discovery after discovery, added another layer of evil to an already horrific crime. Meanwhile, he was covering his tracks. On April 2nd, her car was found burned in Milwaukee. Surveillance footage from the area showed him walking away from the burning vehicle after destroying any forensic evidence inside. But he had made critical errors. In the digital age, it's almost impossible to commit the perfect crime. Every move he made was being tracked and recorded by technology he didn't even realize was monitoring him. As body parts continued to be discovered, police worked around the clock to identify the victim and find her killer. The DNA results, confirming all remains belonged to Sade Robinson, gave them a starting point. Investigators examined her phone records and dating app activity, discovering she had made plans to meet someone on April 1st. The digital trail led directly to Maxwell Anderson. Phone records showed weeks of communication between them through the dating app. Surveillance footage from the restaurant and bar clearly showed her and him together on the night she disappeared. But the evidence went much deeper. GPS data showed her phone traveling from the restaurant to the bar, then to his house, where it suddenly went silent forever. When investigators obtained a search warrant for his home, they found traces of blood and biological evidence linking her to the house. The most damning evidence came from his own phone. Those disturbing photos of her while she was incapacitated, timestamped to April 1st. Additional evidence included his Netflix viewing history showing the dismemberment tutorial and GPS data placing him at locations where her body parts were found. With overwhelming evidence, police arrested Maxwell Anderson and charged him with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and arson. His trial began in June 2025. The prosecution presented surveillance footage, phone records, forensic evidence, and those horrific photos he had taken of her. The defense tried to argue accidental death and panic, but the systematic dismemberment, calculated disposal across multiple locations, the burned car, all pointed to premeditation, not panic. On June 6, 2025, after deliberating for less than an hour, the jury found Maxwell Anderson guilty on all counts. The speed of their deliberation showed how overwhelming the evidence was. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars. This case reveals how evil can hide behind a normal appearance. He seemed like any other guy on a dating app, but he was a predator who used Netflix as a murder tutorial. She did everything right, met in public, told people about her date. But danger came when she left public spaces. The case highlights crucial dating app safety. Always stay in public until you truly know someone. Trust your instincts and remember that digital evidence now tracks everything criminals do. Maxwell Anderson sits in prison today where he belongs. But Sade Robinson, who had so much life ahead of her, is gone forever. Her story reminds us that not everyone online is who they claim to be. Stay safe out there, trust your instincts, and remember her story.